After 6 weeks of testimony, two of Governor Chris Christie's top aides have been found guilty on all charges in relation to their connection to the Bridgegate lane closure scandal that I feel like we've been talking about for 17 years here on the Young Turks. Christie's ex-deputy chief of staff, Bridget Kelly, and I will never get over the irony that her name literally contains bridge, and his former top Port Authority official, Bill Baroni, had faced 9 counts of conspiracy and fraud stemming from the scheme to block access to the George Washington Bridge as a means to punish Democratic Fort Lee Mayor Mark Sokolich for not endorsing Christie's re-election bid. The two each face a maximum sentence of 86 years, although, of course, they will receive nothing approaching that, nor should they, because that is bananas. I don't think anyone thinks they should go to jail for 86 years. Now, Bill Baroni has put out a statement. He does not agree with the fact that he is found guilty on all these charges, obviously. He says, I am innocent of these charges, and I'm very, very looking forward to this appeal, which will probably take years. Now, 2 of his aides went down for this. Chris Christie is not currently in any legal trouble, although he does disagree with the ruling. He said, like so many people in New Jersey, I'm saddened by this case, and I'm saddened about the choices made by Bill Baroni, Bridget Kelly, and David Wildstein, one of the people whose testimony was relied on by the prosecution in this case. Today's verdict does not change this for me, but let me be clear once again. I had no knowledge prior to or during these lane realignments and had no role in authorizing them. No believable evidence was presented to contradict that fact. Anything said to the contrary over the past 6 weeks in court is simply untrue. And the reason that he says no believable evidence was presented is because evidence was presented and he does not believe it. That evidence coming largely from David Wildstein, who he referred to in that statement. He's another former Christie ally and a Port Authority official who had already pleaded guilty, I believe that was more than 6 months ago at this point, painted Kelly, the first that was found guilty today, who wrote the now infamous August 13th, 2013 email in which she declared time for some traffic problems in Fort Lee as a mastermind of the plan. He also described in great detail a 9/11 memorial ceremony at Ground Zero in 2013 when Wildstein and Baroni spoke to the governor about the plan. And he made clear that it was apparently clear to him that Chris Christie did know about the plan in advance and had authorized it.
But that's not believable.
Not believable.
Okay, except for the fact that there was overwhelming evidence, which is what led to their convictions.
Right. It's believable by 12 people anyway.
Apparently,
Yeah.
yes. So there's 2 aspects of this. One is that Donald Trump was going to pick Chris Christie as his VP, according to a story that came out as recently as within the last week. And so now we knew that he was among his top choices, but the news story was Manafort, who was a campaign manager for Trump at the time, said that Trump's plane was having mechanical problems in Indianapolis in order to trick Donald Trump into staying in Indiana for one more day, back when he was trying to decide who his VP was going to be, and then had an unscheduled dinner with Mike Pence. This is all orchestrated by Trump's staff without Trump, the moron, realizing it, because he doesn't know what's going on. And so he has dinners with Mike Pence, and his staff knows that he's just going to agree with whoever's in the room last. So he was going to go back to the East Coast. They stopped him from going back to the East Coast. At that point, according to this story, Chris Christie was going to be his pick. He meets with Mike Pence and goes, oh, okay, fine, I guess. Mike's a good guy. Let's go with Mike Pence. Because he's so stupid. But he right now, he should be thanking his staff, the ones that he fired already, by the way. Like, thank you. Because what would have happened 4 days before an election is his vice presidential picks, entire staff, not entire, but a lot of his staff and top advisors would have just been convicted on criminal matters. Okay.
Ironic. It's just quickly that it's all because of his staff doing things that he didn't know about.
Exactly.
Right. As he claimed.
A lot of people criticize us for not giving credit to Trump or his team when they do the right thing, but clearly Manafort has shown that he is worth the money he's paid, whether he's being paid that money by Donald Trump or by Vladimir Putin.
So Manafort's no longer with the campaign, but if Trump wins, boy, does he owe Manafort for that decision. Because right now, all anybody would be talking about is how Chris Christie's team just got convicted if he was a VP candidate for Trump. Which then leads to, hey, what did happen with Chris Christie? Well, don't think that he's not part of Trump's team. He is. He is, in fact, the head of his transition team, which would mean that Christie would be in charge of picking the staff for Donald Trump. And his staff in New Jersey just got criminally convicted. That's the guy in charge of picking staff for Donald Trump. His track record is nothing but criminal convictions. Okay.
Well, I'm sure that'll be all
Yeah.
over the news all day.
That's all anyone's talking about.
Right. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? You literally couldn't have anyone worse picking your staff for you than the guy whose previous staff is now considered felons.
Yeah. Now, one final thing I wanted to say. U.S. Attorney Paul Fishman was speaking after the charges were announced, or the conviction, I guess, was announced. And he was asked why it is that Chris Christie hasn't been charged with anything, why they're not trying to get him in the same way they got his aides. And he spoke about, at the time, indicting people, only the people who we believed had evidence beyond a reasonable doubt, which, as you know, is the constitutional standard, which is both obviously true. That's the only people you can try to convict, clearly, but also a clear indication. I think he thinks that Chris Christie knew.
Of course! The only thing in this case that the prosecution and defense agreed to was Chris Christie knew. Not only the prosecution, but the defense presented evidence saying, yeah, of course the governor knew. Who do you think told us to do it?
And that he can so smugly sit back and watch this happen. I mean, like a mafia don watching his lieutenants go off to jail while he sits home. It's unbelievable. And it is telling about Chris Christie, who, you know, when he was coming up, a lot of people compared him to Rudy Giuliani, that he was so ruthless that he would do anything at anyone's expense to get where he was going. And maybe getting him out of the vice presidential slot. Although, you know, anyway, but maybe this stopped him in his tracks finally. He's the guy that was finally done in by the way he behaved. And again, I mean, if you don't believe that this stuff is true, why did court believe it? Why did jurors believe it? Why did prosecutors believe it? It seems it was overwhelming.
The Young Turks isn't just us, it's also you guys. You make this show possible, and we want to thank you for it, and we want to grow together. We want to be too strong. TYTnetwork.com/join. Let's do it.